But still, when we finished the car at the end of August 2023, and we saw the car running and driving for the first time, we still had the anxiety, is this good enough for SEMA? So in 2019, I attended my first ever SEMA Las Vegas car show. And for me, it was a lifelong petrolhead dream to come to what I had known as one of the biggest, best custom car shows in the world. And that show was very, very special to me because not only did I come out to SEMA, but a friend of mine in the UK saw me on Facebook say that I was going to SEMA, and he said, "You need to look up this guy and meet him because you're both Brits and you're both doing SEMA." And I sought him out, and it was Sam Hard. And I'm sat in this chair right now because of Sam Hard and the relationship that's flourished between us and our mutual friends since that day. So 2019 SEMA, Sam had brought his Dodge Charger NASCAR creation to SEMA, but not only built it, brought to SEMA, he drove it from Nebraska all the way to Vegas, and the whole story that has been told on this channel ensued. And Sam and I hit it off from that moment. Like, we had brief times together, but we hit it off, and I saw this, not only SEMA from that point of view of what I saw, but building a car and bringing it to SEMA. So then the dream was implanted. I want to build a car one day and bring it to SEMA. Things have progressed for us at Petrolheadism in the UK. The events have grown, our geographic coverage has grown, and also our page has grown. But we've had sponsors and people come on board and friends get involved with what we do at the car events. So 2023, we had the dream of building a car. My friend and Darren from DS1 Collection were looking to build a 240Z Datsun. And when I had this sandblasted, we realized this was the biggest dog I'd ever bought and the biggest mistake I'd ever made. And it was literally a waste of money. And it was compounded by the fact that the sandblasting and the expense of sandblasting was itself a waste of money because the project was just dead and buried. So I sold that on for the chassis plate and what was left of it. And we looked at another opportunity. Alpha Performance Fabrications, one of our partners, reached out to us and said, "Hey, we've got this 1973 Corolla, which we're building. We've already done a lot of work on it, but it's a solid car, and we were just going to return it to classic condition in poo brown, its original color." I spoke to Darren. I said, "Look, this is an opportunity for us to do something special with this car. The car is solid, which means Pennings, our body shop partners, would have less of a job to do than if the Datsun had been better condition than that situation." So we took it up on ourselves to buy this 1973 Toyota Corolla, two-door hatchback, and it's quite a special car. Most of the Mazdas of that time, the Datsun had this shape to them. So I thought, this is extremely rare. Nobody's ever done a full-blown resto mod on this car, and nobody has ever spent the money and time on this type of car. So if we take something to SEMA on the EBC Brakes booth, which were our hosts for the show, we need to make something special, something nobody's seen before. And then when we put the videos out, the suppliers, the interest, the ideas started flourishing. So Elite Carbon Composites, a friend of mine, Zian, had started his own business creating hypercar grade forged carbon fiber for regular cars. He did it on his Mazda RX-7 and put himself forward and wanted to put his work into this Corolla build. The allure of SEMA was such that he selflessly said, "I will do everything I need to be on that stage with you at SEMA." So anything that was chrome on the Corolla became forged carbon fiber and hypercar grade. He works for the firm that makes carbon fiber for the McLaren, the AMG Project One, and other hypercars. So his work is impeccable, and the herringbone lines went through the whole car from the front bumper all the way through the headlight surrounds, the trim, into the wing mirrors, all the way through the car. It was infallible. Pennings took on the bodywork, and the car did have some age-related wear and tear, but not very much welding. We went for a 4-link rear suspension setup, which was taken from a Mark II Rally Escort. And off the back of that, we kind of lost the use of the back seats, although they're there. But the 4-link, when you look under the back of the car, people were blown away by the engineering that had gone into making this car sit the way it did and handle the way it did. So we gave it that performance kind of rally-esque workmanship to it, with the diff and the setup and alignment on the rear. We had body kit come in from Pon Retro in Thailand, who I'd been inspired with his KE25 to build our KE25, but even better. His inspiration was great, and he worked with us to give us some tips and information about wheel sizes, etc. And that body kit came over, which Pennings fitted to the car, and the ducktail to the front lip. It was fantastic. So the engine was fully stripped down by Petrol Headers and Performance and Motorsport, our licensed workshop in Kettering, and we were fortunate that the engine had already been replaced. The KE25 1200 had been replaced some time ago by Alpha Performance Fabrications, and they had acquired a 4AGE 1600 engine, which when we got it in the workshop, it just needed really cleaning up. And then with the Gen V full throttle bodies added to it, and all the carbon fiber parts as well as the performance upgrades to the car, we had a brilliant engine swap. And I know the Americans love an engine swap, and it would have been so obvious to do something with a 2JZ or something like that. But to go for a newer Corolla engine with that extra power and the full blown, the pipes and downpipes and the full exhaust system that Alpha Performance built for that car were artistry. When you open the bonnet on this car, the minimization around the bay, the paintwork popped, the engine looked fantastic. And the fact that when you open the bonnet, you saw a 4AGE, which was from a newer Corolla, and such a mythical engine. It was a great addition to the car. So from the engine bay to the rear axle to the paintwork to the suspension setup, the BC Racing coilovers, the 6AD 3-spoke Advan style wheels that we had designed in gold with chrome rims, as well as the interior, which Dave the trimmer took my idea of an old school hen's tooth Porsche interior styling. All of that came together in this amazing package. But still, when we finished the car at the end of August 2023, and we saw the car running and driving for the first time, we still had the anxiety, is this good enough for SEMA? I've seen the builds at SEMA. I've also seen the builds at SEMA that don't run. But this car I drove on the roads in the UK, and in the final 2 weeks, we realized it was great that we had all these different partners coming along to work on the car. The brakes by EBC Brakes, it was going to be on their booth. The suspension, the guys that built the engine, the interior had gone in. We'd put together a beautiful car, but it just didn't work together. So I took the car to First Call Automotive, and my friend Sean, who's took the car into his proper traditional workshop, he fettled with everything. And as a real true mechanic, he just brought it all together. And that moment when I drove it off his driveway and took it around the villages, the car just drove amazing, and it was ready to put in the shipping container. But as I said, we still remained extremely anxious that the car wasn't good enough for SEMA. That anxiety was left. The guys' reaction at EBC with their partners with their booths and things like that, the reaction to the car was fantastic. But again, until you see the car on the booth at EBC Brakes celebrating their 40th anniversary at SEMA 2023, we still don't know how everybody will react. We were fortunate enough to drive the car on the roads of Las Vegas. We insured them with Haggerty to ensure that we had that relationship with Haggerty as well. And on the Saturday night, we drove the car around Las Vegas, and it was just such an amazing feeling to have built this car with all our partners in the UK, bring it to Las Vegas, bring it to SEMA, and to be able to drive it down the strip. We even positioned it before loading it into SEMA around the Sphere. So the Sphere had the big emoji staring at the car and giving us a reaction to the car. All those moments were just pinnacle moments for me and for the team that were involved. And this was just a build up, driving it down the strip, photographs under the lights in Vegas, the Sphere, and then driving it into the convention center and seeing people's reactions to the car. A small two-door hatchback from Japan via a team in the UK, making it to SEMA with all these absolutely phenomenal builds. We put it on the stand at EBC Brakes proudly. We covered her up. We had the big reveal. We had the Union Jack over the car. With it being EBC's 40th anniversary, it was a huge deal for them. And James, the CEO, a good friend of mine now, and Andy, the owner of EBC Brakes, hadn't put any pressure on me, but the build had to be special. The 3-spoke wheels were there to expose the EBC calipers. So the build, in my mind, my imagination, had been built from, we're going to be on the EBC stand, we need to show off their product. Any car is going to have a 3-spoke wheel, so we can expose that. And if it's going to have a 3-spoke wheel and it's a Japanese car, it all fits the whole JDM scenario scene. So we've got the car there. We've got a Union Jack cover over the car ready for an unveil on the first day of SEMA, Tuesday at 12 o'clock. All our friends made it across. We had some friends, some of the builders, Pennings were there. Richard Rawlings came across for the unveil. Rob Pitts, our good friends, were there for the unveil. Freddie Tavares. So many people were there, as well as 55 traveling UK petrolheadism ambassadors or friends or supporters or tourists, people that had wanted to visit SEMA, and they all came under the EBC banner because it was their 40th anniversary, and they signed up and we got them all to SEMA, and this amazing scene unfolded. Still at that moment, the anxiety, is this car going to be good enough? And as the cover came off, the reaction was palpable. And from that moment until the end of SEMA, the stories I've told in this VINwiki episode, what I reiterate over and over again to interested parties, it was unbelievable the reaction people had to this little car. And whether it was the carbon fiber, the quality of the carbon fiber, the interior, the steering wheel, the wheels, the brakes, the rear axle, the engine bay, so much of it, as well as the unbelievable paintwork, really captured the imagination of people at SEMA. And for me, I'm looking around at the other booths and thinking how flawless these builds were. All the anxiety we felt was gone. The pride was, even now as I think about it, I get goose pimples. It was amazing to bring that to SEMA and create such a stir. Motor Trend and Haggerty wrote articles. The car would have cost us $250,000. It actually cost us $125,000 because so many partners were either involved selflessly, they put their time, their labor, their energy, their product into it. Either some people had done it for 50% of the cost, or some people had donated parts or donated their time. The car is amazing. It's in LA. It's actually for sale. Contact us. The details will be in the bio here. It's a phenomenal car. The 1600 engine rasps. The tailpipe was a beautiful little finish. And honestly, I got the bug for building cars for SEMA. And to not only be there on this scale, in this fashion, with this beautiful creation, which had taken so much British energy, and bringing those brands to the SEMA platform, we honestly had the best time and we met some phenomenal people.
Successful car purchasing is all about knowing your buying power and being able to move quickly. And the best way to do that is getting pre-qualified with Premier Financial Services. Call one of these numbers, speak to one of their representatives, fill out their application, and then you'll know exactly how much car you can buy. You'll approach a seller, tell them you're already qualified, you've got your simple lease set up from Premier Financial, and you'll be able to close very, very quickly. That's why Premier is one of the most powerful partners in the world of exotic car financing, and that's why I turn to them every time I go out and try to buy something crazy.